1983 Lebanon. Two brothers are playing in their room when their mother comes to scold them for not completing their chores. The brothers head out to feed the chickens when they see American drones approach and begin dropping bombs on their town, including their home. Present-day Washington, D.C., low-level CIA financial analyst Jack Ryan works for the TFAD arm of the CIA. He is pedaling to work when a car almost hits him and the man yells at him, calling him a shithead. He, however, arrives at his office safely and soon joins other TFAD members in a meeting. Meanwhile, the man who called Jack a shithead turns out to be CIA officer James Greer, former Karachi station chief returning from leave. He meets with Operations Deputy Director Nathan Singer, expressing his frustration over being appointed to this backwater post. But after events leading up to his leave, Singer sees this as a second chance that not a lot of people felt he deserved. Greer soon joins the team and has them introduce themselves, calling Jack Lance Armstrong when it gets to him. Jack introduces himself and explains he has been monitoring transactions in Yemen, a few of which he has flagged as suspicious and suspects that a high-level CIA target named Suleiman is responsible. He tries to explain why he believes this, but Greer simply dismisses him. Meanwhile, in Syria, Suleiman's wife Haneen Ali is playing with her children surrounded by heavily armed fighters. A convoy of ISIS fighters soon arrives at their compound led by Sheikh al-Radwan, who asks about Sheikh Suleiman's whereabouts, but Haneen tells him her husband's affairs are his own business. Al-Radwan presents a man that Suleiman has requested to stay in their home, and Haneen questions this, but Al-Radwan reminds her that Suleiman's affairs are his own business indeed. Jack is at home when Joe, his former boss, calls wanting to talk with Jack and invites him to a party being kept at his home, and though hesitant, Jack accepts. Later, he lays awake in bed, unable to sleep, having flashbacks to his tour in the Middle East. He gets into the office early and begins going through the transactions for the day and picks up on something. He presents the information to Greer, revealing that 6 transactions were sent through a shell company to an account totaling $9 million. And it seems Suleiman is no longer worried about drawing attention, as what he is planning is going down now. Greer still doubts that Suleiman is even real, but Jack tells him he has the chance to stop the next bin Laden and wants him to freeze the account. Greer tells Jack he's not there yet and seemingly dismisses his entire idea, causing Jack to leave in frustration. In Syria, Haneen brings tea to her guest, who is in a room filled with weapons and explosives as they are preparing for a massive attack, and soon a large shipment of olive oil is loaded onto a truck. Jack, still insistent on putting a dent in Suleiman's plans, approaches the treasury agent and gets her to put a hold on the $9 million account. Greer finds out about the hold placed on the account and is furious with Jack for going behind his back. He thinks that Suleiman will now disappear since the CIA has frozen his accounts and reveals his plan was to monitor the account for intel. But Jack doesn't think they have the time for surveillance when Suleiman's plan is already in motion, so Greer tells him to get out. Meanwhile, in Yemen, a CIA team is observing a local bank manager who goes to meet 2 men in the market. Once the meeting ends, the team begins closing in on the 2 other men before attacking them and throwing them into a van. Jack arrives at Joe's home where his birthday party is taking place. It turns out Joe is managing a new fund with North Korea and wants to know if Jack has any insider information, as he thinks Jack works with the State Department, even offering to cut him in on the deal. Jack denies knowing anything and tries to explain, but Joe calls him self-righteous. Joe leaves and Jack then meets Dr. Kathy Mueller, Joe's daughter, and the two introduce themselves. Just then a chopper interrupts the party landing nearby. 2 soldiers rush to Jack, demanding that he come with them immediately. They soon land at an airport where Greer is already there. Greer explains that Jack was correct all along, and his people picked up 2 men they think are couriers. He needs Jack to accompany him to Yemen to supervise the interrogation, and while Jack thinks he is just a simple analyst, Greer orders him on the plane. The 2 soon arrive at a military base in Yemen where they meet up with CIA Black Ops Mattis and are led to the room of the 2 men where they are blasting American music. One of the captives is Saudi national Omar Rabini and the other they believe to be his bodyguard. Jack takes Omar's cell phone and realizes it's the same number from the transactions, so they move him to another room for interrogation. After a few hours, Jack gets fed up with Omar's interrogation as he knows nothing. Meanwhile, outside, A convoy of Yemeni locals arrive with bodies that were killed in a recent drone strike for the soldiers to identify and for them to get paid. Inside, Jack decides to speak with Omar's bodyguard, even bringing him food. Jack had noticed his reaction when he mentioned the transfers earlier, suspecting that he knows English. The man relents and introduces himself as Sofan, a simple bodyguard. All this time, the soldiers bring the bodies of the men inside, unaware one of the men was faking all along. The man then removes a package from another corpse's body and assembles a rifle. Jack asks Sofan if he knows Suleiman, and Sofan claims it's a very common name, but Jack has noticed his reaction. Later, soldiers guarding the compound notice a car approaching. The car speeds towards the compound, and the soldiers manage to kill the driver, but the car still explodes, blowing the gates open. Armed men then burst in, opening fire, kicking off an intense battle. The man who snuck into the compound waits until most of the men, including Greer and Mattis, join the fight, before killing a soldier and forcing another to lead him to the interrogation room. He is led to Omar's room, but swiftly shoots Omar dead, demanding to be led to Sofan. Jack hears people approaching the room and manages to attack the armed man. But in the fight, Jack is cut in his stomach. Both the intruder and Sofan attack Jack, who holds them off before grabbing a live grenade, forcing them into a stalemate. Despite this, he can only watch as Sofan frees himself, then realizes he is actually Suleiman. The two stare each other down before Suleiman leaves, and Jack collapses onto the ground. Outside, the soldiers eventually manage to push the terrorists back, but they have actually won as Suleiman escapes the compound. Suleiman and his rescuer join up with the men and hug each other in relief. A flashback to 1983 reveals how after the bombing the brothers survived, but the younger was trapped under rubble. The older brother helps to free him and they hug, and it's revealed that these two are Musa bin Suleiman and his younger brother Ali bin. An injured Jack watches them leave and swears to hunt them down. A few nights later in Paris, a priest closes up church and is walking along the street when he notices he is being followed. He tries to quicken his pace. However, he is stabbed and left to die in the street. At Langley, Jack is still recovering from his injuries. He and Greer are part of a CIA briefing where the tape of his fight with Musa and Ali bin is being reviewed. They still don't know Suleiman's real name or his connection to the man that broke him out. They also suspect Suleiman is ISIS, but Jack doesn't believe so, and he explains how Suleiman's operations differ from any known terrorist group. Greer also agrees with him, recalling his earlier doubts, but Singer still pushes back on his stance. Singer decides to set up a task force. However, hands lead over to CTC Europe, ignoring TFAD's efforts so far. Jack thinks he said something wrong, but Greer tells him it's personal before suggesting that he visit the hospital. In Yemen, Suleiman sends Ali bin on a mission in France. He wonders why choose him, but Suleiman only trusts his brother to handle the task, and the two say their goodbyes. Jack gets his checkup but refuses drugs for his pain, so the doctor suggests he try some yoga. He then finds Kathy's office, and the two reconnect for the first time since her father's party, and he apologizes. The two seem to have a liking for each other, and he invites her to join him for dinner. So she puts her number in his cell phone, and they plan to see each other soon. She also suggests yoga for his back pains. Jack's co-workers have heard the rumors about his incident in Yemen, but he denies knowing what they're talking about. He meets with Greer, who has snatched Suleiman's cell phone from IT. They have been unable to crack it using algorithms, but Greer believes the password is personal to Suleiman and wants Jack to give it a shot. Jack is then called into a meeting with Singer, who offers him the opportunity to head the new task force due to his brilliance. Jack passes all recommendations on to Greer as he took action, but Singer wants to sideline Greer and promote Jack instead, so he asks for some time to think about it. Suleiman returns to his home, where he is greeted by Hanin and his kids Samir, Sarah, and Rama. That night, everyone sits for dinner when Hanin notices one of Suleiman's men staring at Sarah and has to call her away. Greer goes to visit a Muslim teacher, and it's revealed that he is a non-practicing Muslim who converted after getting married, but has stopped visiting the mosque after getting divorced. Jack is going through all Suleiman's files trying to find a hint to the code, but is unable to get through. He is doing yoga for his back when Greer returns. He reveals it's almost impossible to figure out a code before the phone's contents are wiped. Greer wants to call it quits when he sees something on Suleiman's video. He notices that Suleiman is used to being handcuffed and has probably spent time behind bars. He hasn't been in the American system, but Jack recalls Suleiman's SIM card is French, and when they run their checks, they are able to pull an arrest record for Suleiman and his full name. Jack then uses his prison number to unlock his cell phone, where they find a frequently called number, have tracked its location to Paris, and want authorization from Ops Director Shelby Farnsworth. Singer is adamant that CTC is in charge, but Farnsworth wants Jack to make the call since he found Suleiman. Jack then decides that he and Greer should work together, disappointing Singer. Samir and Sarah are playing football when the ball falls to the floor below. Sarah goes to get it when she comes upon a room filled with weapons. The same man from dinner earlier comes upon her and approaches her inappropriately, but Samir interrupts them, allowing Sarah to run away. Sarah runs to her mother crying, scared of the men. That night, as Haneen and Suleiman are alone, she asks him about the men he has brought to their home around their children. She doesn't understand what his mission is and expresses her doubts, but Suleiman insists that she trust him blindly because he is her husband. Jack, Greer, and Mattis land in Paris and meet up with French police captain Sandrine Arnaud and SWAT leader Tariq, who reminds them they are their guests. On the way to the address, Mattis gives Jack a vest and a gun, slowly turning him into a field agent. Ali bin is with other Yemenis transferring cash to Yemen via multiple SIM cards when the SWAT team arrives outside. A boy in the hallway alerts Ali bin, who rushes his people to pack up and grab their weapons. Before SWAT can burst in, gunshots rip through the door, killing a cop and kicking off a gunfight. In the midst of the chaos, Ali bin is injured, but he manages to escape the apartment to the floor below. Jack is helping an injured Tariq outside to an ambulance when he spots Ali bin escaping. Jack chases after him through the crowd, but is unable to take a shot. Meanwhile, inside, the cops come upon a woman wearing an explosive vest. They kill her, but the bomb still explodes. In the aftermath, Captain Arnaud identifies the dead men as jihadists groomed by a local mosque. Jack sees the remains of the bomber and almost throws up, and Greer says a prayer over her body. Meanwhile, in Syria, a father says goodbye to his son and heads out on his bike, but as he rides, he is hit by a drone strike. The drone operator, U.S. Air Force Victor Polizzi, receives another dollar from his co-worker for another confirmed kill. Arnaud has recovered Ali bin's cell phone and also Suleiman's prison records, where they realize Ali bin is his brother, the man that Jack chased, and they get the mosque's address. Greer tells Ryan that despite his environment, if he pulls his gun, he should shoot. Haneen meets with her personal guard and Uncle Fadi, who secretly hands over passports for her and the kids as she has plans to leave, and she hides them away in a pot. Ali bin comes awake in an old family friend Omer's home, who tells him he is lucky to be alive as the bullet barely missed his pancreas. He didn't think he would see Ali bin again and shows him old photos of when he was a child. Meanwhile, Victor adds the dollar he got today to his wall collection, totaling 107. A bittersweet feeling as he stares at the amount of lives he has taken. He then grabs the notes from the wall and decides to take them to the casino, where he meets a couple, Stanley and Blanche. Victor decides to bet all his cash, but no matter what number he picks, he still wins, totaling 30 grand. All this time, Blanche takes a strange interest in him, even kissing him when he wins. Arnaud and Jack are in a convoy heading to the mosque. He notes all of Suleiman's academic accomplishments, wondering what could have driven him to extremism. Stanley and Blanche follow Victor back to his apartment. While Stanley steps away, Blanche decides she wants a piece of Victor, and they start making out. Stanley returns, but instead of stopping Victor, he encourages him to continue as he wants to watch. Victor and Blanche make love, but once they are through, Stanley suddenly pulls his belt and starts whopping Victor in some sick role play. Victor is confused and tells him to take the cash, but Stanley isn't interested in his money and leaves with Blanche. While Omer is with his sons, Ali bin finds an old video game he used to play as a child. He uses the chat feature to communicate with Suleiman, telling him he's with Omer. Suleiman orders him to get out of Paris and to leave no witnesses behind. Ali bin packs his things and readies his gun, but he is unable to gun down the family. Arnaud, Jack, and the French police arrive at the mosque and begin blocking off the streets. Greer heads inside and begins showing Ali bin's photo when he notices a young boy staring at him. He speaks to the boy alone, who recalls seeing the man in his friend's apartment. The agents then burst into the apartment where they see Omer huddled with his kids. Suleiman is playing a board game with his kids and invites Haneen to sit with him. She isn't interested in playing, but the family convinces her to join them. Suleiman then tells the kids how he met their mother when she was just 16 and he was an ISIS fighter. He took shelter in her father's house, who offered Haneen to him for the night. But she was too beautiful, so he took her from the village and married her. Through all this, Haneen didn't seem to have a say. Suleiman then reveals that now they have no secrets from each other, then suddenly removes her passports from the jar and throws them into the fire. Arnaud is interrogating Omer for Ali bin's location. Meanwhile, his two sons begin complaining about the game in their console. Jack then finds out from the boys that the man who stayed there was playing the game before. That night, Haneen hurriedly grabs all her expensive jewelry and packs some clothes. She wakes the girls and tries to get Samir, but he refuses to leave his father behind. Haneen is then forced to grab the girls as they are and escape from the compound to a waiting car. Meanwhile, Samir alerts Suleiman to Haneen's escape. Suleiman scolds Fadi for not watching his family and demands that he and Sarah's stalker Yazid bring them home. Jack finds the in-game messages, and Arnaud pressures Omer for a location, but he swears he doesn't know. Arnaud threatens that she may have to arrest him and take him away from his kids, so Omer reveals that he gave Ali bin his car. Haneen breaks down on the side of the road a good distance from the nearest town, but is insistent on pressing forward knowing that God will protect them. Arnaud tracks down Omer's car being driven by Ali bin and wants to intercept and arrest him as she has lost men to him. But Jack convinces her to follow him instead in hopes of him leading them to his cell, or maybe even Suleiman himself. Haneen and the girls arrive at the town, which is being surveilled by drones operated by Victor and his co-worker. Fadi and Yazid soon arrive in the town, and Victor notices the strange car and snaps a photo of Fadi for a background check. Fadi and Yazid soon spot Haneen and the girls and begin chasing after them through the busy market. Victor learns that Fadi is a person of interest and alerts his superior to the chase. Yazid finally manages to cut them off, and a struggle ensues. Victor cannot just sit by and watch this happen, and his partner agrees. But his superior notes that Fadi is surveillance only, but will check in with his superiors. Yazid gets the girls into the van while Fadi tries calming a screaming Haneen, telling her to give him time to get rid of Yazid. Suddenly Fadi is shot by Yazid, who drags Haneen to a nearby building to have his way with her. Victor painfully watches this, but once Haneen breaks free, he can no longer wait for orders and fires on Yazid, killing him. Sarah and Rama scream for Haneen, but she has survived. Victor's superior is about to relieve him of his post, but authorization comes down and his job is saved. Haneen jumps into the car with the girls and drives away. Victor's co-worker hands him another $1 for his kill, but this is a kill he actually feels good about. Ali bin gets pulled over by a cop for speeding. The cop requests his documents and then gets a radio transmission. Fearing he has been caught, Ali bin readies his gun, but the cop simply lets him off with a warning. All this is Jack's plan, as he and Arnaud are following Ali bin in their own car and watching him on satellite feed. In Syria, Suleiman has still heard no news of his wife. He and a convoy of armed fighters then visit the compound of Sheikh al-Radwan, who are in the process of moving stolen artifacts, and the two sheiks head off to talk alone. Jack and Arnaud are still on Ali bin's tail when she asks about his love life and learns there's a woman he is interested in and urges him to ask her out, which Jack does right away. Meanwhile, Ali bin is still losing blood and now low on fuel and knows he has to stop soon. Kathy gets Jack's text and mentions it to her friend, noting that he is not her usual type of guy, but her friend thinks that might be a good thing. Al-Radwan and Suleiman sit for tea. He has heard how Haneen has left him and that Suleiman has been recruiting fighters from all different lower tribes and refuses to let Suleiman do this, as he is the leader and Suleiman should follow his orders. Suleiman tells him that was the past and shows him a large sum of cash to buy 12 American doctors whom Al-Radwan had captured. Once the doctors are handed over, Suleiman, instead of handing the cash to Al-Radwan, hands the money to his fighters whom he hasn't paid in months. Al-Radwan thinks his men are loyal and orders them to disarm Suleiman, but his men just watch as he is disarmed and bound. Suleiman returns with the doctors and also Al-Radwan to his compound, where he beats him in front of his men and has him taken away. He then promises the men that if they follow him, he will lead them in creating the greatest Islamic state ever. Greer and another agent, who are also following behind Jack, spot Ali bin's car parked at a ski resort. They approach the car to find it empty, but Greer realizes Ali bin has switched vehicles. Jack and Arnaud, who are ahead, stop at a gas station to refuel and don't hear Greer's radio transmission. However, Jack soon notices an SUV covered in snow parked at the pump with the ignition tampered with and grows suspicious. Ali bin returns from the bathroom to see Jack snooping and takes aim, but Arnaud opens fire on him in time. An armed guard shoots Arnaud, and Ali bin kills him and goes looking for Jack, who is trying to avoid him behind a car. Jack manages to grab his gun and open fire on Ali bin, who takes off running into the woods. Arnaud is just hit in the stomach and urges Jack to go after Ali bin. Jack enters the woods cautiously, following blood splatter in the snow, which lead to a shed. He enters, gun at the ready, but Ali bin manages to attack and disarm him. He almost chokes Jack out, but Jack breaks free and knocks Ali bin over the head with his gun. Jack demands to know where the attack is taking place, but Ali bin reaches and Jack is forced to shoot and kill him. He returns to the gas station only to find that Arnaud has died from her injuries. Jack and Greer return to the USA. Jack gets home and sees a message from Kathy agreeing to his date. The two meet up at a crab spot, where Jack pretends to get into an argument with the owner, but it turns out they're friends. The two go on to have a wonderful date. Jack walks her back to her apartment where Kathy invites him inside. There the two make out and then make love. In Paris, the funeral of the priest who was killed is being held. Inside, some men exchange glances before activating devices at their feet. As everyone stands for prayer, the three men exit the church and bolt the doors shut before activating the devices which release sarin gas, causing everyone to panic and eventually start falling dead.